Hi, welcome back. In this segment, it's called Reconstruction 3, we're going to go through an argument reconstruction process. If you recall from the first two, we're going to be dealing with lines of reasoning from a court case, the Queen versus David Harold Eastman. The decision can be found at this link. This is the link to an article that explains in some detail the evidence in that case. And in that case, the highest ranking police officer in Australia to be murdered, Assistant Commissioner Colin Winchester, was shot twice in the head at point-blank range as he was stepping from his car outside his Deakin home in the ACT at about 9:15 p.m. on January 10, 1989. And as I've said before, from Andrew Palmer's excellent book, Proof: How to Analyze Evidence in Preparation for Trial, we've pulled his depiction of the reasoning from that case. And here, Reconstruction 1 was this line of reasoning. Reconstruction 2 was this one. Now we're doing Reconstruction 3, which is what are called reasons here. These two premises supporting this same conclusion we've been discussing. It's called a contention here, which is fine. It's the contention or the conclusion. And here, again, the conclusion is Eastman was the man who purchased the Clarenbeck rifle on or about 31 December 1989. So again, we set up some space, create our tray, and we move the components that need to be constructed into that tray. And here we have the conclusion, and here are the two premises. Then we put in our blank template of the logic bridge, keeping in mind that in the reconstruction, we need to be thinking of each of the predicates as stepping stones that create the connection between the start of the conclusion and the finish of the conclusion. Now here we've moved up and put the conclusion, what was called the contention, at the top here. Eastman was the man who purchased the Clarenbeck rifle on or about 31 December 1989. And here are the two premises. We've separated, again, the subject of the conclusion we put at the start of our first premise, and the predicate phrase of the conclusion we put as the predicate phrase of the last premise in this form. We don't know if we'll need 4, or we might have more, but for now, that's how we can put it together. So we look at this first premise, and we say, how can we construct that as a predicate phrase that will fit in with a line of premises beginning with the word Eastman? And here we have, this one actually are pretty obvious because they're already put in a very obvious categorical form beginning with the word Eastman. So we just extract the predicate over here, which is withdrew $200 from an ATM in Canberra on 1 January 1989 and withdrew $200 in order to purchase the Clarenbeck rifle. So here we've moved the first one up here, withdrew $200 from an ATM in Canberra on 1 January 1989. And the second predicate we put here, withdrew $200 in order to purchase the Clarenbeck rifle. At this point we can move, we can see we're not going to need this number 4 premise, so we move the predicate of the main conclusion up here, and we match our predicates and subjects, and there we have the three premises that lead to this conclusion that were reconstructed from the original argument. Premise 1 is Eastman withdrew $200 from an ATM in Canterbury on 1 January 1989. Number 2, one who withdrew $200 from an ATM in Canterbury on 1 January 1989 withdrew $200 in order to purchase the Clarenbeck rifle. Number 3, one who withdrew $200 in order to purchase the Clarenbeck rifle was the man who purchased the Clarenbeck rifle on or about 31 December 1989. So the order that you put the predicates, as I've said in the past, you use your common understanding about how the world works to determine the sequencing of those predicates. And that's what was done here. You know, as it said in the article, this whole case was made on circumstantial evidence. So we're not arguing here that any of these three premises are true or partially true or what degree they're true. What we're doing in a reconstruction is we're putting the components of the original argument in a clear logical fashion so that the line of reasoning is obvious, and this is the path through which the amounts of certainty would flow to lead you to the final conclusion here. Thank you.